Hey guys, JV here, back again with more EA Star Wars news. Yesterday we covered EA CFO Blake Jorgensen's comments on microtransactions and how the company has no plans to shift their strategy. However, Jorgensen also made additional comments on single-player games in general and how the company values profitability over everything else. And most of this ties back to EA's decision to close down Visceral Games and change directions on what would have been a linear Star Wars experience. Jorgensen claims as we kept reviewing the game, it continued to look like a much more linear game, which people don't like as much today as they did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. First of all, I don't think this guy truly believes what he's saying. Certainly, we've seen a shift towards more multiplayer-focused, live service games in this time, but that's not because gamers woke up one day and suddenly decided they don't like linear, story-focused experiences anymore. Some of the most critically acclaimed and fan-favorite games of the last 5 years have been linear experiences that only require a single playthrough. What's actually happened is big-time publishers like EA have discovered that they can't make as much money from single-player games as they can from live service, always online experiences. And because of this, they started dedicating more time, money, and development resources towards products that would bring in the most cash. Again, EA always seems to push the narrative towards blaming consumers. It's our fault that they're not making single-player games anymore, which is absolutely positively ridiculous. On the topic of Visceral's unfinished game, Jorgensen explained that Visceral was trying to make a Star Wars game that really pushed gameplay to the next level, calling it a subscale studio because they only had 80 people on the project. This is on the lower end for AAA, which is why EA corralled its Vancouver and Montreal teams to support it. To me, this just seems like EA was never truly confident in Visceral's Star Wars game in the first place. When it comes to AAA single-player experiences, sometimes you'll see studios like Ubisoft staff several hundred people over several years on the project. That's not to say that more people equals a better game, but it's telling that EA initially chose Visceral knowing this would be an obstacle. As far as making something that really pushed gameplay to the next level, that's about as vague a statement as you can possibly make, but the recent trend shows that EA is most interested in what brings in the most revenue, so I can only assume that's what he's referring to. When discussing the decision to close down Visceral, Jorgensen claims it was an economic decision at the end of the day. He remarked that EA probably wouldn't be able to reach the number of copies it would need to sell in order to turn a profit. He said, "You've got to cut the bridge when you realize you can't make a lot of money on something." So let's be as realistic as we can for a second here. Publishers and developers need to turn a profit. They are a business, and if they're not making money, they don't survive. But that's not what Jorgensen is implying here. This wasn't a decision made for the players as he suggested. It's not because it didn't push gameplay to the next level, whatever that means. In his own words, it was an economic decision made when they realized they couldn't make a lot of money. That is their main objective in 2017. We've seen it time and time again, make as much money as possible at the expense of their players, straight from the horse's mouth. CEO Andrew Wilson also commented on EA's Visceral decision when he said it wasn't about this was just a single player game and it needed to be a live service game. It was more about how do we get to a point where the overall gameplay experience was right for players. Whether it's coming from the CEO or CFO, EA pretends to know what is right for the consumer, which is laughable. After the recent debacles with Battlefront 2 and FIFA 18, I think it's pretty clear that they don't. The overall gameplay experience that is right for players is one that doesn't rely on predatory microtransactions, one that offers a complete product for your $60 experience, and one that focuses on delivering the best experience possible for the player instead of raking in the most revenue. In no way do EA's actions over the past several years reflect their words. So, I think it's pretty clear that we can't expect a solid, legitimate single-player experience from EA anytime soon. At every single opportunity, they seem to throw the linear experience under the bus in order to push their narrative forward, in order to please their shareholders, in order to make the most money possible. Fortunately, we have plenty of developers and publishers that are dedicated to delivering fantastic single-player experiences for the foreseeable future. We've already had so many in the last 5 to 10 years, which directly contradicts what EA is claiming. It just blows my mind that they continue to comment on this stuff and they are so off with their messaging, especially Blake Jorgensen. I mean, this guy could not be any more blunt about their objectives. I understand that he is their CFO, so it's kind of his job to say this is where we're going to make the most revenue and on, but he continues to be the one holding the gun and shooting themselves in their own foot. It's just not smart what this guy is saying. I think Patrick Soderlund and Andrew Wilson are a little more careful with their words, and I guess that makes sense in the positions that they're in, but I'm just shocked that they continue to comment on this, and if they continue to say anything, of course, I will be covering it here on the channel. So that's it for today's video, guys. In the comment section below, let me know if you still enjoy linear single-player games as much as you did a few years ago. Do you agree with Jorgensen's statements, or do you disagree? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more commentaries like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.